Kia ora. Welcome to Baptist People. My name's Charles Hewlett.
And I'm Catherine Heslop.
In our roles as National Leader and Executive Advisor within the Baptist Churches of New Zealand, we daily have the privilege of bumping into interesting people.
These podcasts give us the opportunity to introduce them to you and to let them shape us as we endeavour to bring gospel renewal to people and places.
In conversation, we explore something of their story.
Why do we find them so interesting? What are they giving their lives to? Where does the motivation come from?
We reflect together on both the highs and lows of their journey. Thanks heaps for taking the time to listen in today. Today I talk with Fiona Warring. Fiona is a 45-year-old New Zealand Baptist living with terminal cancer. She's married to Mike and they have 3 children. In this conversation, I ask her what it's like to live with a worsening prognosis, what are the things she grieves, and how has she been experiencing God in this journey. I start by asking her how she's doing.
So today I'm having quite a good day physically. I've just come out of a couple of days of being in quite a lot of pain, and I seem to have got on top of the pain now through medication and rest, which is good, and I'm looking forward to the next couple of days. Hopefully I'll still be in the same position. Yeah.
Because you have been living life to the full a little bit, eh?
Yes,
You're getting around the country, eh?
Yeah, we have. So we've just had an amazing summer with family and friends, and it started off with beginning of December. We took the kids out of school for an extra week and headed up north. We have taken the kids around quite a few places around the country, but we've been talking for ages about going up north and particularly wanting to go up to Waitangi and take the kids there. So yeah, we had a great time as a family. We had 4 nights up in Paihia. The weather didn't play ball for us, unfortunately, but it did on the day that we went to Waitangi.
Awesome.
And we found it really encouraging and exciting that as well as the tour guide who took us around and told us all of the sort of official stuff, that our kids were able to tell us quite a few things that we didn't know as well. And they were quite excited to be able to see some stuff at Waitangi that they'd learned about through school, and so that was really neat for us. So we had that, and then we had a really lovely family Christmas in Tauranga with all of my family. And then a couple of days later we headed off up the Coromandel to Whangamata.
Wow.
The Whangamata holiday was really, really fantastic. We put some feelers out to a group of friends and said that we had some spots at the camping ground, and the owners of the camping ground had said that they had quite a few spots available if anyone wanted them. So we kind of just put feelers out to about 7 or 8 families, thinking, maybe a couple might be able to come along. But it turned out that all 7 of the families were able to make it, and they were a lot of our very close friends from New Plymouth, and we just had an absolutely fantastic time. There was, I think, about 25 kids were there, and it was just a beautiful village of fun and sun and lots of great food. Just it was a really, really neat time for all of us. And then we finished it off with, just came back last week, Mike and I went down to Queenstown by ourselves for 4 nights. And excellent. That's been really great too. So we've had the great mix of time alone as a family, time with friends, and then time by ourselves. And we really enjoyed the time in Queenstown. I did end up in hospital for the first couple of nights. I was in hospital, and that was not good. But they took great care of me there and sorted me out, and then we were able to extend the trip by a night so that we still got to do some of the things that we wanted to do, which was really neat. So I have been living life to the full.
Great. What are the doctors saying to you, Fiona, about the future?
So what the doctors have ultimately said is that, and we've done this for the best part of a year, is that ultimately the cancer is going to take my life. And I guess, some people may not be aware that this is the second lot of the bowel cancer that I've had. So the original diagnosis was back in 2019, and went through the sort of gold standard conveyor belt of all of the things that they do for people with my diagnosis. That was when we were living in New Plymouth, and then about a year after we moved down here, so they sort of sent me on my merry way, saying, all the best for the future. Potentially I had a good chance of just going off and living happily ever after. But yeah, in around June, July 2021 must be, I started having a really, really sore back, and we thought that it was something to do with when I'd been walking the dog, and she had pulled me a bit funny on the lead, and spent lots of time and money at physiotherapists and osteopaths and things, and lots and lots of painkillers. And then a couple of days when we went into that 21 lockdown, that very instant lockdown that we had, I got a phone call to say that some of my markers in my blood that they would test me every 3 months had shown a huge increase over quite a sort of short period of time. And so the outcome of that was that after a whole lot of tests, they discovered that I had a tumour in my sacrum in my lower back, and so we were sort of told at the time then that it was inoperable. I had some intense radiation and chemo to try and just sort of shrink the tumour, but we knew at the time that it was not going to be curable. So what the doctors are saying at the moment is that we're about to start on some quite intense chemotherapy. Today is Wednesday, isn't it? And so on Friday I'm going to be starting chemotherapy. And but the aim of it is to try and shrink the tumours, because they are growing and they continue to cause the cause of huge amounts of pain. And that's actually what's been sort of, I guess, the feature of this whole second lot of the cancer, in a way that it definitely wasn't the first time round, is the pain. It's been quite debilitating in terms of my ability to just kind of function, really. And certainly, things had gotten to a point where they were pretty bad a few months ago. I'd spent a lot of time in hospital, and I haven't been able to drive or just even walk to the end of our street, and sort of was living life between the couch and my bed most of the time. And then they did a swap over from the morphine that I was on onto a different drug, methadone, and that's been a real game changer. So that's given me quite a lot of my life back, and the ability to do like those things this summer. There's no way that I would have been able to do that before. So so what they're saying is that it's not a really high percentage in terms of their hope that it will work. They think it may be about a 30 to 40% chance, but they're just hopeful that it will sort of buy me some time, and also, if possible, take away some of the pain that I'm having as well. So that's where things are at with that.
I'm really keen to hear from you. What is it like to live with a prognosis
like this? It's quite surreal, because even throughout this time around, I'm not sick. And I haven't been sick. In fact, the only times when I've been sick throughout the entire cancer journey have been from the treatments that they've given me that have made me sick. And so it is quite surreal. I guess, even though I was talking about getting on top of the pain, the pain's never actually gone. I don't really ever have a day when I'm pain free. So I kind of have this constant reminder that that thing in my back isn't just going to go away, and I can't just go down to the chiropractor and get it clipped out. It is actually cancer that's in there. But when I'm having moments where I'm just doing normal things or fun things, or just being around the family and things like that, it's surreal. And every so often I'll just kind of just I can't believe that I'm actually dying. And so it is quite surreal. Just sort of be walking around every day, and I'm not feeling sick, but I also don't look sick. So I've been using a crutch quite a lot when I go out now, just because it helps with my mobility. But even with that, I was in Farmers recently, and a woman said to me, "Oh, what have you done to yourself?" Thinking that I'd done some sort of an injury or something like that. And of course I didn't say what it was, but it's I don't look sick and I don't feel sick, so it's quite hard to marry up in my mind that that I am actually dying. And so it's hard. And I've been having some counselling for a while, and one of the suggestions that the counsellor made, which I found really useful, was just when you're having those times when you're feeling pretty upset or crying or just whatever, is just allowing yourself sort of a set amount of time each day that you're going to let yourself feel that and feel down and have a cry or angry moment or sad or whatever, and then sort of park it, I guess. And the other thing that she said to me, which was great when we went to Queenstown, was, "You're not taking your cancer to Queenstown with you, are you?" Well, I didn't mean to take it when I ended up in hospital, but just that in itself was really great advice. Was like, you don't need to take it with you everywhere you go. There are times when you can sort of choose to put it aside and not think about it and not dwell on it. But it's hard, and it's hard thinking about the future and what that's going to look like for me. But it's potentially the way things are going with the cancer in my back is that it's bit by bit sort of eroding away at some of my mobility and things like that. So it hasn't, as far as we're aware at the moment, it hasn't spread to anywhere else in my body, and so it's sort of potentially affecting stuff like mobility and things more than it's actually killing me at the moment. So,
What are you grieving the most right now, do you think?
On a personal level, I'm just grieving having had so much taken away from me. One of the things, particularly, I'm a teacher, and all of my friends that are teachers have all gone back to work and are talking about how exciting it is with this classroom and these kids and what they're planning on doing. I found that really hard in the last few weeks, and I'm really lucky in that I've still actually got a job. I've got a permanent position, and my boss is amazing, and she's basically said, whatever you can manage, we'd love to have you. You can relieve, so, more work you can do in the second term and things like that. But I'm not up to that, and I know I'm not. And obviously with me starting chemotherapy, I teach 5-year-olds, and anyone who's had a 5-year-old knows that there's always a lot of snot and things going around, and it would be the worst idea possible to go and teach. And so that's something I'm really, really struggling with. And because that ties in with your sense of identity and purpose, and I guess I've teaching is something that I just absolutely love, and I've just enjoyed so much, both living in New Plymouth and here. And so you're asking yourself those questions. Well, who am I when I can't do that thing anymore, and I can't work. And as much as things have gotten a lot better since the new painkillers, there's still lots of stuff that I can't do at home as well. And I guess I've grieved the loss of being able to contribute to the family, feeling like I'm not able to do all the things that I can normally do, and I've found that really difficult.
Because normally you're a very active person,
Yeah.
initiating lots of stuff.
Yeah, and just simple things like going for a walk and hearing, I don't know, like last night someone was talking about this really neat place that they'd been to over in Wairarapa, and she was saying, oh, you guys should go, and then we were talking about the logistics of rocks and this and that and everything, and I just thought, I couldn't do that. You know, I possibly wouldn't even have the energy to do it, but even if I could, my body wouldn't allow me to do that now. And it's that kind of stuff, but on a personal level. But I guess the stuff I'm grieving over too is just thinking about the future, and particularly with Mike and our kids.
Yeah.
And our youngest is 11. I just look at him and think he needs a mum, or they all do. The oldest is 18, and he needs a mum too. And I think that's probably one of the hardest things is, we don't have a time frame, we don't know how long, but it's most likely in the next couple of years that I will pass away. And I look at the kids and I think how much I needed a mum when I was that age, and I just want to stay forever. I want to stay for as long as I can, and we've talked about that. I've talked about that with the kids, and just say to the kids, I don't want to leave you. I don't want to say goodbye, and I don't want you to not have me, and I have no control over it. And I know that they do know, and they do understand, but I also know that when I'm gone, it's just going to be so incredibly tough for them, and then they will get through it. They will be okay, but I just, that's probably one of the hardest things. And thinking about Mike having to, parent without me, and not having me around as a friend and a wife, and a co-parent, and all of those roles that we are to each other.
As you know, Fiona, my daughter died of cancer over a period of about 13 years, and there were many moments of anger, of frustration, of this is very, very unfair. Do you have moments like that? How do you process some of those emotions?
Yeah, I do, and it's interesting because I've been reflecting on this a little bit, because I've been feeling like that quite a bit recently. And I realised that during the first round of cancer, I didn't feel like that very often, and I think that's because there was a sense of hope. So, they were very, very positive about the fact that we've caught it early, it's treatable, this percentage of people, if they get it, will go on to live for 25 more years, and all this kind of stuff. And so, as much as it was unfair, and there were some really kind of hideous times during that 18-month period, there was a sense of hope. And so it was like, if you can just get on your little treadmill, conveyor belt thingy or whatever, and do all the right stops, you should be fine. And so I just remember thinking also, well, it is unfair, but why? There's lots of things in life that are unfair, and I felt differently about it. Whereas this time around, and particularly recently, I have really started to feel that a lot more. And the unfairness, I think, it's also a lot about the kids. It's unfair on the kids. I mean, I'm going to be gone, and I'm not going to be here to feel sorry for myself. But I think I've started to allow myself and give myself permission to feel that more. That it's okay to feel angry. It's okay to feel like it's unfair and stamp my feet and sometimes swear in the shower, and and how do I deal with that? Well, I let myself have the emotions, and like I was saying a little bit before about the counsellor, I let myself have that time. And it might be crying, it might be talking to a friend, or talking to God, or there's different tuning up music really loud in the car, or I don't know. There's different.
Yeah.
Depends what the situation is, I guess. But yeah, I've definitely felt it more this time because there's no hope. And when I say that, I want to quickly put in here, there is hope in the sense that, you know, there's a huge group of people praying for my healing, and I believe 100% that I could be healed, and I'm asking God about that on a regular basis. But I also know that, you know, miracles don't happen every day, and that the doctors are saying that, you know, I am going to die from this. So that's a whole other big thing, isn't it? It's holding those two beliefs in tension of, I do believe that I can be healed, but I'm also being realistic that I probably won't be. And so I don't know what some of the listeners are going to think about that. But
because you know, you are a person of faith, you're a follower of Jesus. So I was going to ask you, what do you talk to God about?
Sometimes I talk to him a lot about the kids, and I ask him for more time. So sometimes I'll say, well, if I can't be healed, can I at least have more time? That's been a theme actually through this second lot, is asking if I can't have the best thing, can I have the second best thing? I talk to him about that. Sometimes I find it hard to talk to him at all. You know, if I'm feeling angry and disconnected, I can just go through periods of time where I just don't feel that I have anything to say to him, or ask him, or say thank you for, or I just don't feel like I have the words. And I guess that's where, you know, being part of a Christian community, you have other people around you that can carry you when you don't have the words. Some people know, if they know me, that I've been really involved with a lot of music stuff and worship stuff through church and that, and so for me a lot of worship music has been really, really key in my communication with God. And particularly last time around, when I was going through sort of fatigue, you know, for like a month where I couldn't get out of bed and stuff, I would often just have a playlist on Spotify playing, and they would just, I guess, words that I just couldn't say myself, and I would just listen to them, listen to the music, and those were my prayers. And I suspect going into the chemotherapy that's probably going to happen again too, with the fatigue. And because, you know, if anyone listening has sort of been through any real fatigue, it's not just to do with your body, it's to do with your mind as well, that you often just can't even think straight or string a sentence together in your mind. And so I guess almost, you know, we just have open hands and we'll just say, okay, Lord, here I am. I don't even know what to say today, but I'm here.
Have you seen God in the journey? Has he been present? How have you seen him?
Well, I've definitely seen him practically. So, you know, we've just had millions of meals made for us by friends and family and people from different churches and things like that. So, you know, that's been amazing. So meals and other things like having our kids, we've needed the kids looked after, taking me to appointments, and that's come from not all people that would be followers of Jesus at all. You know, lots of my colleagues through school, both here in New Plymouth, have happily taken me along to hospital appointments and sat with me during chemo and all that kind of stuff. So we've had loads and loads of practical support, and, you know, God's put his fingers all over that. Fingerprints are everywhere for that. So that's been just amazing. Financially, people have blessed us when I couldn't work and stuff like that. And I guess probably just the main thing is I've just sensed that God has never left me or forsaken me.
Yeah.
He, I may not be having the answers to prayer that I want,
Yeah.
but he's not walking away from me. He's just with me, holding my hand and walking with me on the journey, really.
Yeah.
And I know that sounds really cliche, but that's what it is.
Sometimes that's all you've got, though, hey, is knowing God and His promises.
Yeah. And that's probably where I'll talk to you about my new ink that I have.
You've come back to Queenstown with
so I've been to
something
Queenstown,
extra.
come back with a tattoo, and I've actually wanted a tattoo since I was about 15 or 16, but what I would have got then would have been far different to what I've ended up with.
I'm sure your mum is pleased that you've waited till
Yeah,
now.
I think my mum's pleased that I've waited to 45 years old to get a tattoo. So on my forearm I've got a tattoo that says, "This is not the end of my story." And the story behind the tattoo is that around 4 years ago, when I did my first sort of radiation, we lived in New Plymouth. They didn't have radiation there, so all of those people have to go to Palmerston North. Yep. So I had to go to Palmerston North for 5 weeks to do my radiation there. And, that was a pretty hard time, being away from the kids, and I feel pretty apprehensive when you're, for the first time, lying down on this table waiting to get zapped by the machine. And so they get you in position and you're lying there, and then they leave the room and the door locks, because obviously they don't want radiation to spread out to everybody else. And so I was just lying on the bed waiting for the machine to start up. And as soon as the machine started, I just heard almost like an audible voice saying, "This is not the end of your story." And, it's the only time I've ever experienced anything like that. And so that's probably, that's tied in actually with a lot of my reflecting and thinking about my faith and how I feel around things to do with suffering, all that kind of stuff. And I have explored that quite a lot over the last 4 years. And straight away when I heard that voice, I never once thought that meant that I was going to be healed completely. I didn't feel at all that was a promise of healing. I just had a sense of a promise of, however this ends up, your story won't be finished. Your story on earth might be finished here, but you have the rest of your story to live on, when you go to be with God. And then also, I guess, there's that thing of like, my story as a person is going to live on through my family and through my children, and a legacy that I can leave behind for them. It was pretty powerful moment. And I haven't actually told a lot of people until now. I'm telling everybody. But that's been something I've kept quite close to my heart. Now it's on my forearm, so it's out there.
How do you hope that your story might continue on?
Obviously, my ultimate hope was that my story could go on for another 20 or 30 years here on Earth, but I guess my hope is that when I leave, that people remember me as being an authentic person, somebody that doesn't shy away from things that are a little bit hard, somebody who loved a lot of different people that were not necessarily the easy people to love, but people who sometimes made themselves very difficult to love, and through choices or circumstances or whatever. And I hope that my children will have seen some of those things in me and want to find out more about what drove me to want to live that way. And but one of the people that's been very significant throughout this journey, well, first of all, a quick background was a little shout out to Mick Duncan. Years ago, when Mike and I went to a BYM Queen's Birthday weekend, Mick was speaking, and I don't remember the passage or anything like that, but the basic thing that he was talking about in this message was the fact that what did God actually kind of promise us? And he never promised us that we were going to have an easy life or that we wouldn't have suffering or anything like that because we choose to follow him. But he promised us that he'll never leave us or forsake us, and he'll walk with us, and that ultimately we can go to be with him in heaven, whatever that is. And anyway, so that was kind of already there as a little bit of a platform for my thinking.
Yes.
But it didn't have a lot of meat on it because I hadn't needed to put it into practice because I hadn't had anything difficult happen to me before. And then, I had my tattoo inspiring moment, and a person that I've come across, a friend put me onto her, is Kate Bowler.
Yep.
And she is a really, really amazing woman, and anyone that's listening, if you've got time, she's got podcasts, she's written a couple of books, she's got a really amazing TED talk as well. And her story in a nutshell is that she had been doing a PhD, and it was all around, in America, it was all around the prosperity doctrine of health and wealth.
Yep.
She'd followed all these mega church pastors around and interviewed them, and some quite big names that were, pretty well known. And she was coming in her mind, she was doing it as an observer. It was all to do with her study and all that kind of thing. But then at the age of, I think she was about 33 or 34, she was married to her high school sweetheart. She had this new baby. Her life was perfect. She'd got her job in academia and talking all about that. And then she got a phone call to say that she had stage 4 bowel cancer. And what she realised almost immediately was that as much as she had thought that she was just an observer, that she had actually bought into quite a lot of that herself. Not so much the wealth side of things, but the health side of things, and very much like, but I'm a good person, and I've done this, and I haven't done any bad things, and I'm this and the other thing, and so why would I be? How come I've got cancer? And so it's made her kind of really explore those issues a lot herself. And so the book that she wrote immediately after this time was Everything Happens for a Reason, and Other Lies I've Loved. And so I read that book, and it's just been really influential in my thinking around stuff. And her next book is called No Cure for Being Human. And she just talks about this thing of, she'll say things like, have a beautiful, terrible day, because we're living in this horrific, awful time, but we can also be embracing the joy and the beauty at the same time and hold those two things together. And she talks about things just being good enough. We don't actually do things perfect. And anyway, she's just been a great person for me, and she's helped to solidify quite a few of the ideas that I guess Mick has started to put in. And of course, once you've got your own crisis happening in front of you, it's a lot easier to put meat onto it because you've actually got a thing. So that's where I've sort of sat with stuff, and I think I found her really helpful just for unpacking how I feel about things. And
You and Mike must think a lot about, or talk together a lot about the future. What goes through your mind when you think about the future?
I feel sad.
Yeah.
I feel really sad that my kids are going to grow up without a mum. Like I said, even though eldest is 18, but we all know that there's just so many times after young adulthood that you still need a mum. But it's not even just needing a mum; it's just wanting a mum, and it's a privilege. I feel sad that I won't most likely get to have grandchildren, and I feel sad for them that they don't get to have me, because I know that I'd be a really great grandmother. I love children, I love babies, and I'd love to be there for those moments in their life, I feel sad thinking about Mike being on his own, and but I also, I'm starting to want to feel a sense of hope for my future, and in the sense of that knowing where I'm going. But it's hard to when there's so many earthly things right in front of you that are sad. because I don't have any doubts about what will happen after I die, but it's, mostly I just feel sad when I think about the future. I guess I feel hope for our children, because I know that we've put so much into them, and I trust that what we've done will be enough, and they have a great lot of people around them that are going to help to raise them.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
So I don't just feel sad. I feel hope for things like that.
You have some confidence, about the
I
future.
have confidence. I know that they will be well loved and cared for. So it's not all sad. But
what brings you the most joy right now?
It definitely is the small things.
Yeah.
And particularly because I've come from a place where everything felt like it had been taken away. Now that I'm able to do some more things, like yesterday I drove myself down to the shops and I drove home, and that's only like a 10-minute drive, but I couldn't do that before.
Yes.
And when I couldn't do it, I had no freedom. So it just, the first time I did it, I just said, I just drove the car. I just went down, and it just felt really good to have that freedom back again. And so then with that, obviously, has come the ability to be able to do things like take my daughter out for a coffee, or just go down, take the kids down to the beach, or go with them on the walk with the dog.
Yeah.
So, it's little things. I think, like, for example, the camping trip, there was so much joy there, and that was because it was just about seeing my family with all their beautiful friends and in that village, and just the way that everyone had so much fun together. So that just brought me so much joy.
Yeah, awesome.
And being able to go to Queenstown with Mike, because we didn't know if I would be able to do something like that.
Yeah.
And so when you can do it, it brings you lots of joy. And I love, I always feel a sense of connection to God when I'm out in nature. So, which it doesn't happen much at the moment, but when I get those opportunities, even just last night we took the dog for a walk, and I was just being out in the beautiful cool air, and just walking around, and so I think it's those kind of things. Talking to friends and family, that brings me heaps of joy. Just having people drop in little messages into my phone, thinking of you and praying for you, or silly emojis and gifs and memes and all that kind of stuff. That brings me joy as well. Books, I've read loads of books, and I've got a pile of different books that I'm planning on reading once I start the chemo. So it's just actually the simple things. Food, love food, chocolate, ice cream, lots of joy from that.
Well, I think you're a beautiful person, Fiona, and it's been really good to spend some time with you. I said to you before, hardly a day goes by when someone doesn't say to me, "Have you heard how Fiona is?" You're deeply loved. Maybe a final question would be, what would you most like people to know right now?
About me, or just my big message to the world? I think that getting all these messages of support and people praying for you and all that kind of stuff, and don't underestimate how powerful that can be for a person in my situation. And I know that often people feel quite helpless because they just want to do something. But a lot of the time, particularly if they're not near you, there's not actually that much that they can do, really. But just knowing that people are there for you, and people taking the time to send you a message or write you a card or whatever it is, that does really mean a lot to people in my situation.
Thanks, Fiona. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. It's been lovely to chat, and we're jokingly saying that this podcast is sponsored by the tattoo parlour down in Queenstown, weren't we? I've just about convinced Charles to get a tattoo for himself.
What would you recommend for me?
Well,
something to think about.
Something. Maybe you could get the listeners to send in some tattoo ideas, Charles.
I think it's time to press pause.
Okay, right. Okay. Thank you.